Hearing from Baldwin Li, who's travelled down from Manchester to be with us. Now, Baldwin is the producer of the Oscar and BAFTA-nominated short film, The Vorman Problem, which is based on a story by David Mitchell. Baldwin, welcome.
Thanks.
So I'm going to start off with some questions about your kind of early career, your route into the industry. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started with film, whether you studied it or...
But I actually went to university to study English. I was studying English language and literature at Oxford, and whilst there I didn't really get involved in filmmaking, to be honest. I was still doing bits of fun stuff at home with friends, but I pretty much spent my time playing pool and doing music another of my passions. And when I came out of uni, I thought, well, I need to get a job at some point, so I decided to try and go into the creative industries. Wasn't quite sure what it would be, but film, TV, media was one of the things that I had a strong interest in and thought it'd be a creative and fun career. It took me a couple of years, maybe 1.5 years before I managed to get a job at Granada Studios in Manchester, which is where everything started really. I was mostly working in the sound department, but in the last 6 to 8 months I branched out and worked on these wonderful channels which are now defunct called ITV Play, where you have to ring up and guess something and they give you money if you're right. But it wasn't creatively the most challenging or enriching, but it was an excellent technical background because we had to do vision mixing, directing, camera work, sound mixing, some light work as well. After about a couple of years I left to set up my own company. I was considering going to film school at that stage, applying to somewhere like NFTS. And then the friend who I'd done a lot of work with in the past, sort of amateur type work, had written this script, a feature script. I decided, with the money I'd saved up from working, to just produce and direct it, just do it. And I pretty much did almost every job on it, within reason. And we shot this micro-budget feature on about £3,500.
What was it called, the feature?
It's called 25 Gs. It's one of those where I don't think I could watch it now. I don't think I could watch it at all. But it certainly, it was my film school.
So it's learning on the job, basically.
Yeah. So fast forward 6 months, and a chap I'd met on a short film shoot, a short film shoot where I was working free as a sound recordist and he was working free as a director of photography. That was Mark Gill, the writer and director of Vorman Problem. He saw 25 Gs and thought, how the hell did he manage to do this for £3,500?
Yeah.
And he was thinking of making this short film called The Vorman Problem, which he gave to me and said, right, do you want to produce it? It's about a psychiatrist who gets called to a prison to examine a prisoner who believes he's a god. But the problem is, he's managed to convince the rest of the prison population that he really is a god.
Okay, so take it away, casting. You're casting
so,
this movie.
really confident of that, and we had this great summary, which I've just said, almost verbatim, something like that.
Yeah.
And we thought, right, we just need to get it in someone's lap. And we were quite savvy with how we wrote it. We knew that the prisoner role was only going to be a 1-day shoot.
Yes.
And the doctor role was going to be 3, maybe 4 days. So the intention was to find the big name for the prisoner, 2 scenes, 1 day, drag them up to Manchester, shoot, and they can go. So the plan was to get this big name, so we thought, right, who doesn't want to play a god? So at the top of the list was Kevin Spacey. So we wrote to him and said, would you like to be the prisoner? About 3 days later, very quickly actually, surprisingly, got a call from his office saying that Kevin really liked the script, but unfortunately he's a bit too busy to do it. And he said, his assistant said to me, why don't you try Tom Hollander? That's who Kevin suggests, Kevin recommends. And through a conversation with one of my old tutors, I said, oh yeah, he said this, it's Tom Hollander. But she's like, oh Tom, nice chap. I was like, oh right, you know him? Well, yeah, he did a reading for me at a conference she ran. And I said, well, can you get it to him directly? She was like, oh, leave it with me. And so she did. And again, within a few days, Tom had rang me up and he said he wants to do it.
Amazing.
And then he said, who are you thinking about for the doctor? And we thought, well, we were going to cast locally because it's a longer shoot. But who do you recommend? he said, I'd love to work with Martin Freeman. We're like, okay, so I think we should let him ask Martin. So what we actually did, we went back to the script and cut down some of the scenes, because we didn't want to go in and say, look, we need you for 5 days, Martin, because that would have been a
big ask.
Very big ask.
Yeah.
And so we trimmed it down, and this is the kind of stuff that might have ended up on the cutting room floor anyway.
Yeah.
So we trimmed it down and got it to a 3-day shoot, and so Tom asked Martin, sent the script to his agent, and again within a few days, both of them agreed to do it.
You know, you've got these big actors in the film. How far do you attribute its success to them coming on board?
Oh no, it's incredible help, incredible help, but I think we have to sort of step back logically and see why they got involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think it'd be wrong to suggest that people, oh, you only got into this and that because you had big actors, right? So if we step back and go, right, we only got the actors because we had a great project.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, they're only great, big, well-known actors because they're great actors.
Yeah.
And so it comes from the roots, and it comes from the root of having a good idea.
All of the sort of technical aspects of filmmaking aside, the networking aside, all of it, you can kind of strip all of it away and just boil it down to, do you have a good idea that, you know, people want to see, that you want to see?
It's great if you can execute something technically well, but you know, I've seen some shorts that are executed terribly in terms of sound and camera that are fantastic.
Because they've got that idea.
Yeah, you can't forgive bad ideas, but you can forgive some technical or some production difficulties that someone will have.
Maybe a sort of common misconception that producing isn't a kind of creative role. It's like the director is the creative role and the producer is something a bit more kind of organisational. But obviously, from what you're saying, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I must admit, when I started producing The Baldwin Li, and then I produced the next film, I was concerned that I would be moving away from being a creative.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially coming from having directed as well. But for me, that hasn't been the case. For me, I'm even almost closer to the creative.
So I see that you've got credits for obviously the script, the music, the sound design, and the edit. So you're kind of going in there with a bit of your philosophy from 25 Gs.
For that small film, and with the sort of budget limitations we had, it made sense for us to edit ourselves at that time. And because I do have a background in sound and sound design, it made sense for me to approach it that way. But I would like to not do all those laborious things again, and really work with someone and collaborate creatively on those things.
I guess that knowing the roles yourself means that you're going to know what it's going to take. So if you're going to know the qualities to look for in a potential sound designer or editor, if you have like a knowledge of those roles yourself.
If you don't really understand their roles, it's hard. It's hard to work with them creatively and how to understand their needs as well. So I think that really benefits me personally, having a good technical background.
What steps did you then take to put it into festivals?
The strategy I used was basically target the top tier festivals first.
Okay.
Which are the Oscar and BAFTA qualifying ones.
Yeah, and there's a list on the BAFTA website.
So those who don't know, BAFTA website obviously. Yeah. There's a qualifying list then, the Oscar qualifying list as well. And those tend to be festivals that charge a little, because they're more high profile. And then apply to all of them and then slowly work your way down. It's incredibly time consuming, but you owe it to your film, if it's any good, to spend the time and also spend the money. I think you need to put aside a budget before you shoot it. You need to think in your mind, if I'm going to get this seen by people, I need to spend maybe 3, 4, maybe possibly even £500, which is, I don't even know how much I've spent on it. I don't even want to think about it because it's kind of painful.
How do you find people to both fund and make your movie, and how do you approach them?
Crowdfunding is a really great way to try and get people involved and interested in your project, and also raise a little money. We did a crowdfund to help complete our second short film full time. We managed to raise around $2,000 just to top up the budget to try and spend some money on post. It is a lot of hard work, and actually for the equivalent work I could probably have gone and done some freelance work and got that same money in, but what it does do is raise interest in you, and it's basically a way of promoting yourself before something's made. So people who've donated and people who have seen the project have already got a vested interest in your project before it comes out, which is great.
Yeah.
It's like pre-marketing.
You've got that audience built in.
Yeah.
And so obviously also after we've just gone through all this today and discussed all this today, I'm sure there are some people out there who are now kind of thinking about, you know, your role as a producer and whether it's something that they would like to take on. So what would be your advice to people who, you know, young people looking to get into the industry who think producing is the way for them?
My advice is for people to develop a critical, really deep critical understanding of films they watch.
Yeah.
And also, the other little thing that sort of goes hand in hand with that is that you need to be able to talk to people about your ideas.
Yes.
And take any opportunity you can to speak to people about your ideas. And if you're boring them, then you're doing something wrong. Yeah? And go away and think about it when you spoke to someone and said, because people always love speaking about what you've done, but then straight away like, well, what's next for you then? What's next? You know, you've done this Vorman problem thing. Oh, this is great. Yeah, great, brilliant. Well done. What are you doing next? And take that opportunity straight away to tell them about your next projects, and slowly you can slowly refine that pitching skill. Because whenever you're speaking to people, you are pitching in some sense, even if informally.